Most people think Perth was always meant to be here, but in reality, its location was a gamble. So why was a struggling river settlement chosen over safer, better-known locations? To understand that, we need to look beyond opportunity and toward fear. When the British established the Swan River Colony in 1829, they weren't chasing gold or rich farmland. Instead, they were worried that the Dutch or French might return and claim Western Australia after decades of exploration along the coast. So, establishing any permanent settlement on the west coast would create a legal British claim, which was the real strategic goal, preventing French or Dutch powers from asserting sovereignty over the region. The Swan River offered fresh water access inland and a navigable route upriver, making it a practical site for a settlement centre. Not perfect, but workable compared with other unexplored coastal areas. The river mouth and nearby anchorages like Gauge Roads provided a sheltered harbour for ships compared to the open Indian Ocean, which was strategically useful for resupply and access. However, the land they chose was poorly understood. Early reports described the Swan River area as fertile and promising, yet once settlers arrived, the truth became obvious. The soil was sandy, crops failed, and fresh water was unreliable. As a result, many settlers were undersupplied, unprepared, and shocked by how hard survival really was. Adding to the problem, Perth was extremely isolated. For much of the 19th century, there was no overland route to the eastern colonies, and sea voyages to Britain could take 3 to 4 months. Because of this, trade was expensive and migration remained slow. Even worse, unlike other Australian colonies, the Swan River Colony was founded as a free settlement, not a penal one. That meant there was no guaranteed labour force and very little government support. Consequently, settlers had to rely on themselves, and many faced severe hardship in the early years. Unsurprisingly, some began questioning whether the colony should be abandoned altogether. But walking away would mean more than failure. It would mean losing control of Western Australia to rival European powers. For that reason, despite the struggle, the British held on. Over time, they expanded inland, adapted farming methods, and slowly improved infrastructure. Eventually, by the 1850s, the colony stabilized, and later discoveries, including gold in the 1890s, transformed Western Australia's economy and population. In the end, Perth's early years weren't shaped by opportunity, but by competition. What began as a defensive move against Dutch and French influence became a permanent settlement, and later, a modern city. So ultimately, Perth didn't grow where it did because it was perfect. It grew here because giving it up was never an option. Shout out in the comments if you've got Dutch or French heritage, and what do you think of modern Perth today?